isn't it just beautiful to have football back? I love it. I love it, man. I love it. How's everyone doing? Hope everyone's good. Yeah, Leeds versus Harrogate, the first preseason friendly that we could see, and it was just so refreshing and good to have the team back. There's some interesting things I saw in that game that we're going to discuss in this video. Let's just get straight into it. And the first obvious elephant in the room is the formation. Now, what I'm going to say is, and just to clarify this is obviously a pre-season friendly. This doesn't necessarily mean this is a formation you will play in the season. Daniel Farke did mention in his press conference that, it wasn't ideal, the personnel. We had to change the way we play. But he also said, look, it's good to have more than one way to play. And I agree with that. And I think that's the medium here. I think whether we play this in the season or not, the fact of the matter is, looking at that team yesterday, there is the movements and the positional awareness. There is obvious on and off the ball, both sides. There's been obvious training in this formation, in this style, this system. So for me, that shows that we are going to be more adaptable, more flexible, and potentially have the ability to play two formations, or two different, a back four and a back three, which is important. I think we need that. I don't think it's a matter of this means nothing. I also don't think it's a matter of this is everything. I think it's good to, as a side, have the ability to play more than one formation. So whether we do or do not, there is some things in terms of the movement and the personnel we have that I liked about this setup. And this was the first half formation here. Now, the back three, obviously, Ampadu, Rodon, and Jim DeBeo, who, by the way, I thought was very good for his first game. His first game in senior football, dealing with some physical players. Thought he really passed that physical battle. Obviously, the four across the middle are, the two, and then the full backs, the wing backs. Rothwell and Greve in the middle in the first half. Junior Firpo on the left, and Dan James as a wing back. Always liked that idea. Rutter was kind of in the 10, but again, in a lot of Rutter fashion, it did start off like this, but often, you would see this type of thing here, or even this type of thing here. There's a lot of rotation in the front three, and that's key. That's what you need in this formation, And one thing I really liked about it, and what showed, was the forward progression, forward passes into predominantly these three guys who all rotated. Rutter would come short, Joseph would come short. If one went short, one went wide. There'd be a lot of rotations here, which is what you need. It's key. And obviously with rotations here, that's when your fullbacks can get high, which we did very well. Dan James did a great job of really hugging this line, whereas Junior Firpo often would rotate with Rutter or Joseph to invert, and then one would go out wide. It's good to have options. It's good to have rotations. For the most part, it was the two. But yeah, that was the first half formation. And this is what made me think about this might be an option, because in the second half, we changed a lot of personnel and still stuck. Because I was thinking, well, if Somerville and Nonto are not playing because they're not wing backs, it'd be tough to. He's probably just doing it to, because they're not in the side and we don't have natural wingers or fullbacks, whatever, at this point. But actually, in the second half, they both came on, and what Nonto did, he played that wing back role with the back three of Strauch, and this time Ampadu and Byron. Now, Nonto looked good in that role, I thought. I thought in terms of, obviously, look, again, this is not about the opposition you play. This is about what you're doing. Obviously, you can play anyone, but it's about replicating what the manager wants you to do, the movements he wants you to do, the positional awareness, the pressing, and all that stuff. And that's what I'm talking about when I said he feels good when he looked good. I don't mean he looked good in the sense that, took the full back on. Like, obviously, he's going to take the Harrogate right back on. The point is the movement he made, decision making, and some decent combinations between these two. So it was interesting. I think it might be a tactic that either we do or is definitely an option. I don't think you'd do it in both halves if it wasn't. Look, transfer window there's still time left, and we might bring in the personnel who don't suit this system. Natural wingers maybe, which is fine. I'm all right with that. I don't care. The point is this happened, and there is something to that. We might not play it one time in the season, but it's something we have, something we can develop on. against a different setup. You come up against maybe a deeper line team or a transition team. But yeah, I liked it. It's interesting. And my main focus in this first part of the video, sorry, I just realised you can't see Stroud behind me. My main focus in the first part of the video is the back three. Because if we are going to play this, I think there is an issue. Now, say in an ideal situation, an ideal scenario, your back three and Byron drops to the bench is kind of this. It's kind of this. Or maybe even this. Regardless of where they play. That's your back three. Now that, on paper, is great, obviously, in the Championship. My issue is Ethan Ampadu. I think, still, Ethan Ampadu is a 6. I think he'd work excellent in the midfield. Say Crew comes out. And this is where the Wober situation comes into it. I think Wober will be playing more centrally and Rodon will play on that right. Wober is obviously left-footed. That back three is deadly. I also, the reason it's yellow is I'm not convinced Max Wober stays. I know Farkas said he's part of the side and it's a quality player at this level, obviously. And that back three is an absolute joke, by the way. That is over in Premier League back three, if I say so. But there's still that thing hanging over me that Wober is just getting back into the side to stay fit, to be part of the side, waiting for that transfer. So I'm not sure that will work yet. But I still want Ampadu in midfield. I think there were aspects of the game against Harrogate where he did struggle 1v1 in them physical battles. And this is part of the system, you know. Just take Wober up, for example, right? So say, and I've got an example here, actually. And again, it's important to note, obviously, this is pre-season. But I think this is just Ampadu himself. I think when he played in Italy, Andrea will tell you, he did struggle in these systems against big, quick, physical strikers. What we've done here, we've initiated a press, which is pretty good. And when you press, that's forced them to go long. So this is about the setup for going long. In a back three, in order to initiate a press, you have to be very aggressive because obviously there's no 10 behind the striker. So you have to adjust the midfield higher, which means then one of the centre-backs has to push higher, which means the two remaining centre-backs are wide and exploited because the striker is obviously going to drift out wide because that's where the space is. Because the wing-backs, can't see behind my head, the wing-backs are naturally high. And that's what they did. And Ampadu struggled with that when they did it. I actually think James DeBayo dealt better in them 1v1 situations. Ampadu made about 4 or 5 fouls in those situations, which I guess is fine. But when you make a foul in those situations, that's because you've probably lost the battle. You've not anticipated it quick enough. And that happened. Like I said, that was one ball over from our press. And you can see here already the kind of space. You are 1v1, well and truly 1v1. This is about your battle with that player. And Ampadu on this occasion did lose out and could have been a goal. Now look, again, I'm just talking about potential situations that we could be in. Ampadu is probably our best player in terms of consistency. But I do think he's a 6. I do think he's a 6. Of course, look, pre-season, he's not sharp. I get that. I 100% get that. I'm just giving potential things the manager will look at because he'll see this, obviously, and go, right, how do we avoid that? If we're playing this system and we are pressing and strikers like this are going to be in 1v1 situations in this much space with one of the centre-backs, how do you make that less obvious? Right, that's what it's about. Either the press has to be better, or you need to back your player in these positions, starting position, you know, all that stuff is important. So that is something that will be worked on. And for me, he's got the number 4 now, Ampadu. Don't know if you read too much into that, but they're in at 6. And he got the number 4. Maybe he wants number 4. I don't know. But for me, if it's a back 3 and Wober does stay, which I'm still not convinced, it's Max Wober, Pascal Struijk, and Joe Rodon. And then obviously if it's a back 4, it's great competition between them 3, to be honest. That's what I mean. Like, one of them's missing out, which is crazy, by the way. Absolutely crazy. Ampadu, for me, is in that midfield. And that's hopefully where we'll see him this season. Assuming Wober stays as well. He doesn't get into that back 3, does he? If Wober stays. Or he shouldn't. But yeah, it's just a potential little issue with playing this system and not having that kind of big, physical, quick, natural centre-back who's used to playing in the system. Because if a back four, you're never really exposed like this. And that's the difference between a back three and a back four. As centre-backs, you can be more exposed in 1v1s and you have to be spot on. So that's something that Fak will look at, Ampadu will look at, try and figure out the best way through this. But again, pre-season friendly. But again, these are things that it's for. 95% fitness, but you do look at these things. You do look at these things. It's important. You can't be blindsided to them. The midfield. A bit I loved the midfield. We'll talk about Crew in a minute. Really great. I thought he looked calmer. I actually thought when we played that way, there was a lot more movement in front of him, and a lot of that is down to the players in front of him. The players look confident. Again, pre-season friendly. Joe Rothwell, though, impressed me in the sense that, and again, this is about the decision-making in the mind, not against the opposition. No matter who you play against, it's about how you're thinking. Joe Rothwell, did the breakdown the other day, loves a forward progressive pass. Every time he got the ball, with 2 or 3 meters of space, he drove into that space and picked out forward passes through the lines into dangerous areas. Now, this is great if you have the wing-backs bombing forward, which for the most part we did, and runners off the player he's playing into, which we did. So Joe Rothwell, in that role, works. Of course, still didn't look sharp, decisions making, the obvious things, I have to say it, because, caveat it, but yeah. That progressive passing, getting the ball 2 or 3 seconds, no longer on the ball at all. A lot of time was 2-touch. Same with Gruev. And I like that. That's the type of profile Joe Rothwell is. Still not as sharp as the others. He looked maybe a week or 2 behind in pre-season, which he is for us, right? So, yeah. He looked good. I like his thinking on the ball. He did do 1 or 2 drives, but for the most part was all about maintaining possession and moving the ball forward into Jorginho Rutter, into Joel Perot, into Matteo Joseph quickly, which we do lack. That brave decision-making didn't come off all the time, but it's that brave decision-making. Charlie Crew, again, a young lad playing his first kind of senior minutes against physical players is tough, no matter what level they are. These guys are professional pros. They're all big, strong athletes who full-time in football. It's important for a young man of I think he's 18, come into that and just seamlessly blend in. It's impressive. He looked like a guy who's played at least for 3 or 4 years in the seniors. Still think his role this season will be a rotation role, and I think that's perfect for him. Still think we need another midfielder, obviously. I look there. There's good attributes there, but I don't see that snappy, real creative final third destroyer. I don't see it. We need that for me. We need that option. But yeah, in terms of ball progressors from deep, we have 3 good options there. He had Ampadu to that as well. But Charlie Crew, I thought he was impressed for a young man. He did really well. He's part of the squad this year, obviously. How much he'll play, I don't know. But what we have is a good talent. Again, what I really liked about him was how quickly he moved the ball. And I did so many videos last year, didn't I, where I was annoyed about how slowly we moved it. And again, I keep saying this, but look, I know people are going to comment, you're playing Harrogate, but I'm not talking about the opposition. I'm not talking about 1v1s. I'm not talking about, duels or anything. I'm talking about what we did, our thinking on the ball, and where we wanted to play it. Of course, when you play against better sides, you're going to be pressed quicker. They're going to follow you quicker. Spaces will be, you have to be quicker on the ball. Everything is quicker. It's about the thinking, and that's what's important. If he'd have got the ball in this game and would have been slow with it, and the decision-making was slow in this game, that's a worry against even better opposition. It's about the thinking and the understanding and getting sharper and quicker at that. But Charlie Crew really impressed me. The way in which he moves the ball, his pass detail, I love pass detail. Hits the ball firm, hits it quick, straight to the feet, no messing about. Yeah, the play will play a part this season for sure, whether that's big or small. Doesn't matter at this point. It's part of the side. It's good that it's part of the side. Yeah, excellent. Really impressed. And the youth, obviously, just a elephant in the room. I've not got Arch on here. I've not got Harry on here because, well, he's 15 and for the most part he'll play for the 21s this year, and he needs to develop. He's 15 years old. It's really not worth. I don't know, Luke Thomas played as well, but had about 2 touches, which is good to see him on the pitch. Good to see him getting experience with the first team. I want to talk about mainly, I've already spoken about Carew. Sam Chambers, just because he had that moment, didn't he? He had that moment. Great finish for him. Brilliant moment for him. Again, will be a big part for the 21s this year, I think. But James DeBayo, touched on him earlier. I was really impressed with James DeBayo. I was. And again, this might be a matter of him having one top season in the 21s and being an emergency centre-back if we need him. There's some good young centre-backs at this club, though. Some good young ones. Lapata White is part of that as well. He's a year behind DeBayo in terms of his development, obviously. But yeah, some real good centre-backs at this club. And again, you have to establish that regardless of the opposition, this is about how they deal with that fully grown men physical presence as opposed to playing at youth level, which is the hardest step for a youth player. It's adapting to male football, whether that's League 2, League 1, playing in France, Championship, Premier League, it doesn't matter. The physicality of these players is completely different to junior football or youth football. Completely different. And like I said, in them 1v1 tussles, I think he looked to the Ampadu. And that's a credit to him as a young man. That's a credit to him adapting and stepping up to that physical landmark. And like I said, and even on the ball, he looked sharp, positional, with a 3 there, looked good. I still think, again, this guy will have an excellent season for the 21s. He could be part of the first team for Cups. I hope he is. I think he's talented. He showed today that he can do that. But there's no pressure on these lads. They're all young, and the recruitment team will need to bring in more players, senior players. So these guys can kind of have that slow build into the first team. Yeah, so you never know with these guys. People say you can't put pressure on them. It's neither or. You can't not put any pressure on them. You can't put loads of pressure on them. You have to just wait and see, right? Just wait and see what happens. You know, start of last season, I was saying Archgray will have a squad role this year. He played every minute. You know, just don't know. You know, you just don't know. So, but yeah, good to see them guys getting minutes, and they'll have good seasons, whether that's in the 21s or bench options at times for us. Don't think any of them will be huge. Could be wrong. Doesn't matter. We'll find out. That's on them. That's on the club. That's on everything. So good to see. Good to see. Yeah, that's it, people. Let me know what you guys think. Anything you guys saw from our kind of shape and setup. Like I said, this is just, you know, when you're playing that formation for 2 halves, and trust me, they've worked on that for at least a few days. You can tell. Whether we'll do it in the season still remains to be seen. Doesn't matter. The fact that we are showing comfortable signs in that position, the personnel we're bringing in suits that. Firpo as a wing back suits that. If we bring in Bogle, suits that. If we do keep Voba, which I'm still very sceptical, by the way, we've got 3 top centre backs. That instantly makes you think, well, they're all going to play, right? 2 and 6, Rothwell and top 8 coming in. Some attackers. But yeah, good to see. Long way to go. Interested to see what we do in the next preseason games, which we won't see. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. I appreciate all the support. In a bit.